Hello and welcome to Pod Potatoes, and becoming my semi-regular co-host is
StephanieA.IsComedy.
And we're talking about improv today, I think. And in LA, there's a thriving improv community.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere. They have little sanctuaries where they do improv.
Sanctuaries
where to people that only like improv.
Yeah, they're places where people just perform for improv heads.
Okay, you said there was a place to consider the fringe or alternative improv,
Yeah.
and then there's the mainstream improv. Where is that?
I may have misspoke. I think it's more alternative comedy. Like yeah, like UCB is considered alternative comedy.
All right. That's
so it's a little broader.
Upright Citizens Brigade.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have a TV show.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was I remember the most famous one was a guy who was playing a golfer, and they were asking him how he was successful in his life. He said, it's because of ass panties. Every day I take
oh, wow.
I get $5 in pennies, I stick them on my ass, and I spend them. So that everyone is, I know that everyone I see and everyone I meet after years and years of doing this every day has touched my ass pennies. And it gives me a lot of confidence to know that everyone else is touched by ass pennies. And it was really funny because he was a very he was like a golfer, short hair, country club kind of a guy. He was talking about golf. He was talking about ass painting. Yeah, it was a show on. It was on Comedy Central. It was called Upright Citizens Brigade.
Oh wow!
And they had that, and I remember that one. And I remember the other one where they were in a hotel room using a black light to see what had.
That sounds real extra.
And they're like, look at this. They never even cleaned this. This comforter here has stains from sperm on it. And then they checked him, and then he had like stains on his mouth.
That's terrible.
It was brunch. So I guess it was kind of alternative comedy.
Yeah, definitely.
But this is not even a proper Diet Coke. I'm gonna give you like a big glass of this, like a 7-Eleven. They're really cheap here. We're here in Mel's in Hollywood, and they're giving me a glass. I asked them for a Diet Coke, and they gave me a glass, and it looks like it's for a sundae, so like a sundae with ice cream in it.
Yeah, but all their other beverage glasses that people are drinking out of here all look like that. They all look like sundaes. That's their stilo.
They're so cheap, man. They're cheap.
Oh, you think that was a cut? They were trying to cut some corners with that?
They're cutting corners with that. They're doing the prices way too high. Tourist trap prices.
Definitely that.
So, and they have Halloween napkins. They really cut corners here because they have.
They went to the 99 cent store.
They went to the 99 cent store and got some leftover Halloween napkins. The napkins are black. Black napkins. Which is a song by Frank Zappa, Black Napkins.
Oh, really?
Yes. It is a song by Frank Zappa.
Oh, wow.
Let me see if I can draw a picture of you.
No, don't draw a picture of me. I don't like self-portraits.
I'm not that wouldn't, if I draw it, it wouldn't be a self-portrait.
Or whatever, portraits.
I'm out of practice. I don't even draw anymore.
Don't draw me.
Why? Okay, I'll draw someone that looks...
I'm bashful.
It's probably not going to look like you anyway.
Exactly, that's why I don't.
So, how do these improv places start?
I am not the person to ask about that. I really don't know. I barely know the history of like the city. I don't know. I don't know the history of Second City. I don't know the history of the Groundlings.
You go there?
Yeah.
How much do they charge for the classes? A lot of money?
They do. A lot of money. They're expensive.
Really?
Yep.
You don't want to say the amount?
I think people should inquire within.
This is serious journalism here. We need to say the amount.
I know, but you know what? I'm still in classes. Like I'm still taking classes.
Has it helped you to get anywhere?
Yeah. I mean, the instructors are all very talented, and everybody it's not just like let me go here and learn this, and there's no practicality to it. Like, most of the instructors are all working in the comedy field, in the comedy industry. So they're writers, they're producers, they're directors, they have stuff that's on the air now, the performers, same thing. So it's not like it's a place that's, no, don't draw me. Oh my God, let me take this. No.
My notes for the show. I need somebody to take notes for the show.
But it's very helpful. The instructors are they're not like a bunch of people who like had failed acting careers and decided, let me start teaching now. You know what I mean? Like, and not that that's bad either, but I'm just saying that's not what it is.
They're like the stand-up teachers. But
like the stand-up teachers?
People that teach stand-up are all failed stand-up comedians.
Are they?
Yeah, pretty much. But it is almost impossible to make money doing stand-up anyway.
Well, you know what? That's the one class that they don't offer there, which I find kind of interesting and confusing. Like, they teach all other aspects of comedy there, and they have comedy shows there, like stand-up comedy, like weekly.
Really?
I'm like, they don't offer a stand-up class. So one teacher I had, he suggested that perhaps they don't have stand-up classes because it's kind of like a class thing, like, oh, we don't do that. I'm like, oh, really? Why? Why would people look down on our stand-up classes? I've
had stand-up comedians and stand-up and improv performers on the same show, and they actually didn't like each other. They were sometimes, usually not. It went away, but when I first started to include improv years ago, the improv people and the stand-up people would be at odds with one another. Like,
maybe that's what's behind it.
They were like looking down on the stand-ups. And the stand-ups were looking down on the improvers. They're like, why'd you put those fucking improv people up there?
That's ridiculousness.
And then the improv people were making fun of the stand-ups.
They're all branches of the same tree. That doesn't even make sense to me. Why would anybody? But people look for reasons to be like classists and elitists and separatists and every other type of is. But
get a job and a place to live first before you start fighting over stuff. You know what I mean? You can fight over. You're living in your car, and then you're like getting in a fight with somebody about who's better at the improv place, or the stand-up place. Lots of people, I've known lots of people that have lived in their car for years trying to do stand-up, thinking, I'm going to be a stand-up star. They lived in their car for like 3-4 years.
And then
I know one person that lived in a car for 5 years just so they could go to 3 or 4 open mics a day and then try to do shows. Also,
that's
nothing. None of them made it. None of them went anywhere. But they thought they were.
I don't. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't really know much about any of that, but I just know I'm a strong advocate of classes. I strongly suggest anybody getting into stand-up comedy or thinking about it to take a class.
Yeah.
I do. I stand behind that 100% because that's how I got started. If it weren't for a class, I would not be doing it at all. I would have never had the confidence or the courage or the...
I always just kind of looked down on the classes and just went to the mics. My class was just to go to the comedy store, and I still do it like 3 times a week minimum. I go to the Comedy Store and watch the comics perform. The ones that are working now, the working comics. You know?
Well, I think also too, there's something to be said about different personality types. You know what I'm saying? Or if you actually have like a mentor. Like if I had a mentor, somebody who was working in that scene that I was close to and knew, and kind of like took me by the hand and said, "Okay, come here and do it like that," then I probably would have done that too. You know what I mean? But just me on my own, like, let me walk into the Comedy Store. Let me go to this open mic and start trying. I would have never. That's not my personality. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. No. I understand. It's not. It was very bold of me to go do it. I just got bored out of my mind. I was scared out of my mind and nervous, but I was so bored. I was like, I've got to do something else in my life. Mm-hmm. And I just went up. I wrote some jokes, and I went up and I started to tell them and perform them. And but you know, the open mic scene in a lot of ways is kind of like being hit by a bat every day. And I can't stand it anymore. Now I just ask to be on shows. We get booked every day on shows, and it's a little bit better. Last night I was performing in a record store in Redlands, wherever the hell that is.
Oh, wow.
But I went there and performed, and it was fun. I had a good time. I had a lot of fun, but you know, it was just going up. You know, maybe someday I will go take it.
Oh, thank you.
That looks pretty good.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I asked some people the other day. No, some people are asking me if I would teach them how to do stand-up.
You could probably start teaching classes.
I probably could. I know a lot of people.
There's a demand for it, because I've had so many people ask me, just in like my class, like even my like improv and other types of classes that I've been taking. I've had so many people ask me, you know, how did you get started? Where do they teach classes? Where are they, you know? So I even like send information to people. Like if I see anything in an email in regards to classes somewhere, I'll pass it on to other people, because people literally ask me about it. So there's a demand for it. Anybody not teaching at like an established comedy school, I feel like they're sleeping if they're not teaching stand-up.
I'm so busy just trying to do it, you know, teaching somebody else. I guess I could.
Yeah.
I could try. That salad doesn't look too bad.
It doesn't.
I would like it without all the gooey stuff, though.
Yeah.
How much is it?
That sounds like my dad. He says that too.
Really? Don't eat a bunch of gooey stuff? My co-host has now wandered away from the table. She's getting a waiter to talk to her. This is part of the. This is part of you doing it. This is a casual conversation. There may be breaks from the conversation.
What's a casual conversation?
I'm just explaining what my co-host is doing.
There you go.
Oh, some salsa. Some
Thank
extra
you.
salsa.
Yeah.
So what is that salad called?
It's called chicken taco salad.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll order it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just went to the store and got a bunch of food.
I was thinking that this fan is probably going to start me back up to coughing.
I should have to take my medication so I don't cough during the podcast. Oh, I have. Yeah, sure. But I have this other medication that really does it. It's much better for it. That I just took, but it hasn't taken effect yet. But sometimes I have a cough because I don't have any sinuses, which is weird.
You don't have any sinuses?
I do not have sinuses. That's why I have this weird nasally voice.
Oh,
it's because
really?
I don't have up here. Most people's head is hollow because the sinuses are up here inside of the skull. But mine are gone. Mine are just thick. I just have a very thick skull.
How did they take missing? Like
I wasn't born with them.
Interesting.
Just don't have them. And
I wonder what that means for like the rest of your system.
I don't know. It also means I have an extra vertebrae in my back.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
There's other things. There's little variations on me. Humans, we all have variations.
That's true.
And that's how we evolved. You know? That's how we got here. Like people have this nose right here. You know, people have the nose. That's so they can swim. Helps them swim.
What do you mean, the shape of it or
the
what?
shape of it, so that when you swim, you can look forward, and it goes down, and it keeps water from getting in your nose. Like the only monkey, a monkey or primate or ape that has a big nose also swims in the water all the time. So it's like that's what we have. That's why there's been no, that I know of. There probably someone's going to give me on this podcast and say, we know there's somebody there. That's why there hasn't been any or almost no famous or successful African American swimmers because of the nose.
Okay, let's change the subject.
Why is that bad?
I don't want to go down that Pandora's box rabbit hole. That it just could get inappropriate or sensitive within one simple statement. It can go there.
People talk about this just generally.
Well, I'm not talking about it. All right. So,
we won't talk about it.
No, I stay away from generalizations like that.
Anytime you talk about something like that, then people are going to get upset. Now, did Trevor Noah lose his job?
I don't know. Did he?
They found some tweet from 4 years ago.
Okay.
That was offensive, or some people say is offensive.
I heard about that.
Did he lose his job?
I don't know.
We're not up on it. And now Chris Hardwick also has been.
Who is this?
Because he broke up with his girlfriend.
Who?
His girlfriend's mad at him. Oh, he's another famous comedian that started a place called Nerdist.
Oh, it's now the Ruby.
Huh?
The Nerdist is the Ruby now.
It is? I don't know. It's because Chris Hardwick, who started it, someone wrote some accusations about him, and now he's losing things, and he's off of the board. It's just amazing. It's just like, you know, Maria Valleseñor, who was on Saturday Night Live, before she got on Saturday Night Live, or I guess before she made the journey to start being on Saturday Night Live, she went through her Twitter and scrubbed it.
I heard about that.
Of everything that was risque and offensive. And you know, it's just too much. It's, you know, like if you, someone was just posting on Facebook about that. Chris Newberg was just posting a question, you know, if you go to Disney and you start doing comedy, or you go to a company like that, then you're repping for them, so you've got to be clean like all the time, you know? You start like getting upset. Like, I remember when Joe Rogan, and he said, is it worth it? You get paid big money, is it worth it, you know? I don't know if it's worth it. I would take the money, but I probably would get fired eventually if someone dug up something that I said.
Yeah, you probably would get fired.
You know, it's ridiculous though, because it used to be like the host of America's Funniest Home Videos, I believe it was him, used to be a very blue stand-up comedian. And he would go out at night and he was very dirty. And people that would see him on this family show would go and see him perform his stand-up comedy and be shocked that he was so filthy. But you know, he wasn't filthy on TV. He was just filthy in his stand-ups. And so, you know, it used to be you could do that. Like Red Fox, who was one of the first African Americans on television to have his own show. And you think he was the first, it was either Flip Wilson or it was him. For Sanford and Son, did you ever watch Sanford and Son? Now when he was going to be given a TV show, and after he was given a TV show, there was a lot of controversy because he is a blue comic. As a comedian, he has endless amount of albums. He put out 3 or 4 albums a year of dirty jokes.
Okay.
And it's all great stuff. It's Red Fox. He's a comedy legend. And he got his own TV show, Sanford and Son. And there was part of the controversy was that he was a blue comic. You cannot put that guy in television having, you know, put out, I don't know how many albums he has, probably 40 or 50 albums. He's very prolific since the early 60s. And he was a blue comic. He did dirty jokes. He's got albums of it. So it used to be you could go out and have your own personal life, have your own different life in showbiz, and then on television you just didn't cuss or scream or do anything obscene. But now it's like even more so, we're looking at everybody's personal life. No one has anymore any kind of anonymity in their life. It's like we know everyone's sexual life and personal life is being thrown out in public.
People's opinions, people only know it if you make it public, though. So those people putting tweets and stuff like that, you put that out there. You don't have to. You know what I mean?
But Red Fox put out those 40 or 50 albums of dirty jokes, and then he went and had a TV show, and they never heard it. No one ever was like on, but nowadays...
Yeah, but I'm saying in reference to modern times.
Modern times.
Now, like, you can keep your opinion amongst, you know what I'm saying?
Well, they
your
had...
private circle. You don't have to say everything that's on your mind at all times and put it out there. I don't. And even before it was like this. I just was taught that way. You know what I mean? Not everybody needs to hear your opinion about everything.
But nowadays, if you have an album of comedy and then you're on a TV show, you'll have a bunch of social justice warriors going over every album you ever put out and saying, oh, look, this routine is offensive, that routine is offensive, or this routine is dirty, or this is sexist, or this is homophobic, or this is... And there's all kinds of stuff on there that now would be considered sexist or homophobic or whatever that Red Fox put out. And it's like on his albums. And they didn't go over every line on every album he ever put out in those days. But now, everyone does that. Now everyone looks at everything. And it started with Bill Clinton. Not didn't start with it, but that was like the beginning of it, where they were looking into his private life, and we had to know about Monica Lewinsky and everything that went on in his affair with Monica Lewinsky, and that's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? Amazingly enough, this practice has not harmed the President of the United States. He says and does whatever the hell he wants to do and been doing it.
That's true.
And he still has the highest post in the nation. So, to me, the bigger question is who gets affected by this?
His approval ratings are going up. People are very confused. They have this whole thing about you're putting babies in cages and you're separating families, and then people started to point out, well, Obama was doing that too, Obama. Then the pictures that they tweeted out, where people point out, no, those are pictures of immigrant children during the Obama era. And Obama has the record of deporting people, 3 million people. We'll see if Trump goes past that, but this whole thing, that whole campaign against Trump, they stopped it because they realized his approval ratings were going up. Because it's such a popular issue, ending illegal immigration is such a popular issue, that people are like, oh, okay, well, he's really serious then about stopping it, and they were happy. And he especially went up 10 points, approval rating went up 10 points amongst Hispanic people. So they stopped their whole campaign. But yeah, you're right about that. And he's one of the few exceptions. He just does and says whatever he wants. And his approval ratings just keep going up. And people like that I think people just like that he doesn't back down. He's a straight shooter, that he doesn't apologize about everything. He just moves forward. Defends his agenda, defends what he has to say. It was really fascinating. Most comedians and most people in LA, because it's mostly Democrats, don't watch the Republican Party debates for the presidency. They didn't watch it.
I do. I did. My family does.
And that's good. Most people, and that's good because a lot of people aren't. And if you don't watch that, you're missing a lot of pretty amazing TV, especially the last one, to watch him go in there, because Trump was not a Republican. He was an independent candidate that staged a hostile takeover of the Republican Party, because he realized that the neocons, the Bushies, were out of touch with Joe the Republican, Joe Sixpack. Joe, the construction worker Republican. He was very much, he understood that they were out of touch with those people, and he connected with them. And he went up and he just went up there and tweeted, and he went to the debates, and he took on 17 of the best funded Republicans ever in the history of politics. And then he took on the best candidate, the best funded candidate ever in the history of politics, who was Hillary.
Well, there's a new political comedic show on right now, a political comedy on Showtime called This is America. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. Who's it? Is this the Sacha Baron Cohen thing? Is it? Have they started airing it?
Mm-hmm.
He's like my favorite comedian. I'll have to watch it. But I usually hate when English people talk about politics. People from England talk about politics, do political stuff. I remember, who was that guy on, he was a judge for a while on America's Got Talent, and he had a political talk show. He was English. I cannot remember his name, but people were so offended by him that he had to go back to English. Now he's just doing it in England. But he's offending everyone there as well. And now I forget his name. That's dumb. I can't even really look it up because my phone is right there in front of me. I guess I could look it up. Maybe I can look it up. Remember what his name is. Maybe not. It's going to be difficult. But anyway, it's a whole different, it's a whole different, I don't know, thing now where everyone's private life is getting thrown out into public, and everything that everyone has ever said is getting examined now, you know, your entire life. And some people don't care. I remember once when Joe Rogan, who's a commentator, he's a comedian, and also he's a color commentator for the UFC, which is a sports organization for martial artists, and for those of you who don't know. And he calls the fights, just like a person during boxing will be doing the commentating on the boxing end. It looks like Joe Frazier is doing this now, and then blah, blah, blah. And then he does that for the UFC because he has knowledge of martial arts and can explain all of the very complex techniques that the fighters are using. But when he's not doing that, he's a comedian. And at one point, he described an MMA journalist as being cunty. And that was the term that he used for her, was cunty. And her comments were cunty. And there was a lot of controversy, and people were giving him slack for that. And they were asking the UFC, are you going to fire this guy for saying this? He's like, no. Look at some of the stuff I've said, you know? We don't restrict what the people can say. But then they did start to restrict what the fighters could say. They had something in their contract because they didn't want the fighters to be too controversial or outspoken on controversial issues. So they do fine them occasionally. But it's just getting ridiculous. You know? What everyone's life is getting examined. One of the world champion in boxing made some remarks that were supposedly homophobic, and people were all angry about that, and it was hurting his career.
Yeah, that's not examining people's lives, though. That's people saying things in public or typing things publicly, and they get themselves in trouble. That's what that is.
Yeah, but
now the whole issue of people's personal lives being examined, that's a completely separate issue. But the thing of people just publicly saying stuff that's inappropriate or offensive or disrespectful, that's on them, you know?
Yeah, but you know, as I was saying,
now I do kind of feel like they are taking political correctness a little bit too far. Like they're being a little hypersensitive about everything. But some of that stuff, if somebody loses their job, they deserve it. If somebody, because you shouldn't be
Should Red Fox have lost his job on the TV show for putting out all those records that had dirty jokes on them?
I mean, I don't know about
That's kind of the same
retroactively
thing.
doing stuff, but I can't comment on that because I'm not familiar with the entire body of his work. I'm not fully familiar with, you know, the tenets of his job or any of that when he was on television, so I can't really, that was a little bit before my time. But some of these current people, yeah.
Yeah, well,
because everything nowadays is about a brand, and that's kind of like a newer phenomenon. Like, and I think that came out of reality television more so. Everything now is like a brand. So anything you say or do, it's quote unquote a part of your brand. You know what I mean? So if you are presented, your brand is, you know, Mickey Mouse or Nickelodeon, you know, stepmom or whatever it is, and then you say some raunchy stuff on Rush Limbaugh's talk show, yeah, that's gonna be a problem.
Well, you know, it's kind of like, I think a lot of the executives in charge are overreacting to some of the controversies because I think it's just a really small group of people get offended, you know, just on the internet.
I don't know about that. There's millions of people that were offended by certain comments and different things that have been said recently. I strongly disagree.
Really? I think that if a lot of these people...
And the other thing is, the bigger thing is with all of that, because I've heard this argument before. Well, they're being too sensitive, and just let people just say what's on their mind, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, the people hollering that are the people who, they don't have the same consequences. It's not affecting their lives. It doesn't affect how people perceive them. It doesn't affect how they're received when they enter a room. It doesn't affect them. So yeah, they can talk freely all day and we should just say what we want. So for the people that it affects, no, you can't just say what you want.
I think,
and if you do, okay, well there's consequence to be paid for that. You know?
I think that there's a lot of overreaction. And I think a lot of the people that worry about some of these...
They need to keep on overreacting. I'm cool with that. I'd rather that than go back to people just saying a bunch of reckless stuff and it's just okay and you just gotta laugh it off because it doesn't affect that person, but it affects you. No.
Well, I think that there's a lot of overreaction, a lot of people that have been fired from TV shows and other things like that.
Hasta luego. Ciao.
I think that if they
don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you.
It wouldn't affect the ratings or anything else because a lot of these people don't even watch the shows. A lot of these people don't care.
Doesn't matter.
You know, like after Bill Cosby, after all this stuff, and he was still touring. You know, and filled stadiums everywhere. He was getting canceled here and there, but people didn't really care.
And he should have been. If he was going with that, him doing, he should have been canceled. You don't do that.
Well.
Now, what I will say about his case, though, is they went back, 20, 30 years digging up people and stuff like that, and were some of these other people that were doing the same type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody has mumbled a word. People, supermodels ain't coming out the woodworks talking about, this person did this to me. Now, it seemed like they did recently just go get that one guy. I can't think of his name right now. The one who was making people do stuff with him for like roles or I can't think of his name.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He was like attacking people on video sets. He was just wild with it. I was like reading stuff. I was like, God, he got away with all types of stuff. But this industry is filled with that. There's so many of those people. I'm like, if they went and got everybody that's guilty of that, we wouldn't have any more execs left.
Right. Well, that's what he says. He says, yes, I've traded sex for roles in movies, but he says everyone else is too. So,
yeah, it's rampant. It's rampant.
It's rampant. It's also like some of these roles, they're like $30 million for some of these roles. You could get it a lot cheaper, the $30 billion. Why doesn't he just hire professionals if that's what he wants?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he's saying he's trading sex for like movie roles. Right. A lot of these roles in the movies that these people are getting are millions of dollars.
Right.
So why not just hire a professional if that's what you want? you know, a professional lady of the evening,
Because
it's going to cost you a lot
it's not about
less.
that at all. It's
Yeah, it's about power.
ego, power,
And the sex
power
appeal
over
of
somebody else.
the sex appeal of these ladies that are in the movies, I guess, are his fetish too. So there's like a fetish involved there, something like that, you know. So
And some people
who knows?
just honestly just get off on exploiting other people. And
You okay over here, guys?
yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Dessert, yes.
Huh?
No, not
That's
for me.
more
at
Diet
least.
Coke?
Of course you may.
Thank you.
But yeah, some people just honestly they get off and they seek out positions such as that.
Right.
You know, maybe they got made fun of when they were in middle school or high school. Nobody wanted to sleep with them. They were a nerd. People clowned them and dissed them all day. So they're like, okay, watch.
And they're ugly and they have big craters in their face from their zits, like Harvey
Because some
Weinstein.
of these men, I'm like, you couldn't pay a lot of women to get with them.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? So they get in positions like this so that they can kind of like get back at the world.
Yep. I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that out there. You know, what do you do? You know, everyone's life is going to be examined. I think that I don't know. I feel that at some point it's going to be people are going to get so tired of it. No one's going to care. You know, no one's going to care because we hear it about everybody. You know, almost every single person on the earth. You know, like let's say that the LA Times started to write articles about any of us, and the New York Times, and ABC and CBS said we're a bad person and you need to go to jail, and you start to pressure the police
That's
department.
extreme, but okay.
This person's bad and they're evil and they need to go to jail. So the police and the FBI and everyone starts examining every part of your life. Starts looking at every ex-girlfriend, every ex-boyfriend that you may have offended or done something stupid, or at some point, you know, got drunk at a party or whatever, did some bad thing, and the whole of the public and the media and everyone on Twitter and all the bloggers and the internet is saying this person is bad, you must put them in jail, and they start examining your life and every part of your life. How many of us couldn't they get? Start looking at your tax returns,
That's true.
everything
But
you've
that's
ever
not what's
done.
happening right now, though. Because some of these people, not everybody is falling for all of this. Some of these people that are coming out and saying stuff, people are turning against them because what they're bringing up is BS, or it's just they're trying to cash in on a movement. This is the thing. People wouldn't be getting tired of the Me Too's and all this other stuff going on if there was accountability and what's the word I'm looking for? Like if there was accountability and voices were being heard about complaints and different things going on all along. You know what I'm saying? That's like if you just throw everything all of a sudden, like, okay, we're gonna go get this person, we're gonna go arrest that, people will be like, wait a minute, what's going on? But if you look at stuff and really give someone a place where their voice can be heard, or you make it comfortable for people to say, look, this was going on, or this, that, and the third, and you start acknowledging and dealing with things as they happen, it wouldn't be so overwhelming, and it wouldn't be a rejection from society when you want to just go all attack for whatever reasons all at once. You see what I'm saying? Like, they need to do things within moderation, and they need to create a different type of environment, period. You see what I'm saying? Then you don't have to go about it like this. And this whole like Rambo way that they're doing things, it's effective but ineffective because it's doing like what you said. Like
Right.
you're
tired of it.
right. Not only that, and it's like, okay, what is all of this really about? You know what I mean? Like it just confuses things. But like if they just change the environment, period, and address people, because like you said, this is not brand new. This has been going on all this time. But however, 10 years ago, if you would have said this exact same thing that, oh, Bill Cosby did this or Harvey Weinstein did this, you would be the person blackballed because you said something. You would be the person.
Because the things
cut
I
out.
say on this show. Look at, they went after Morgan Freeman with some stuff to me that just sounded completely
Right, and
innocent.
they turned on those ladies too. They
That's
turned
good.
on those reporters and stuff like that because it was ridiculous. But that's what I'm saying. So not everybody is being like that. Not everybody.
The allegations against Bill Cosby and Morgan Freeman were night and day. You know, somebody got offended maybe because they misunderstood something Morgan Freeman said. It was
Some of
entirely
these people
innocent.
are just trying to jump on a bandwagon that's going on right now.
It's
It's
just
a movement, so they're
it's
trying to
just
jump
too
on
much.
it and get their 2 minutes of fame and get their 2 coins if they think they can get that too. You know what I mean? That's all that is.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of bodies. When this is done, there's going to be a lot of bodies, you know, lying around the pop culture landscape. And some of them are going to be innocent and some of them are going to be guilty. You know, it's kind of like they're just taking a shotgun to everyone they can get at. And,
Most of them
seeing
are
what
guilty,
happens.
though. Most of them are guilty. Some of them, yes. Some of them are innocent, but most of these people are guilty.
And some of it doesn't affect, like you said with Trump. You know, he's just like, you know,
That's a whole nother. That's a whole nother issue.
it doesn't bother him. It doesn't. No matter how they try to get him, they don't get him. And they've tried to meet to him, and they've tried everything they possibly could. It's just not working with some people, and it didn't work with Morgan Freeman. And at least I hope not. I hope he doesn't
That's apples
lose
and
any of his
oranges,
stuff.
though.
Sure,
Yeah,
it is apples and oranges, but they're using the same shotgun for everyone. You know what I mean? It's like, here's a fly, and then here's a big cow, and we'll shoot it
situation was
both.
an actor or somebody in the entertainment industry, and then somebody who's supposed to be a leader.
Now who's the president of the United States?
They have 2 different levels of responsibility that are bestowed upon them, and you know. So to me, it's totally different. I wouldn't even compare their situations at all.
Well, I think there's something to learn from comparing them, even though they're very different. Because again, they're kind of using the same scattergun kind of effect. You know, just shooting away at people. And a lot of them are people that, you know, there's, like I said, a lot of bodies. A lot of bodies. By the time this is done, some are going to be innocent, some are going to be guilty. We don't really know. Different levels of guilty, who's guilty of what. And also, you know, times change as far as...
You know what? At the end of the day, it's just about respect. People just need to respect people, period. I was raised that way, and I just feel like when you respect people, you don't have to worry about all this. You really don't. Nobody has to come and tell me. Nobody has to come and check me and say, oh, Stephanie, don't say this to someone. Don't touch this man's penis while he's sitting there. Nobody has to tell me any of that. Because I know for myself, respect people, treat people how you would like to be treated. You know what I'm saying? Treat people like that's your mother sitting there, or that's your father sitting there, or whatever the case may be. And some people don't have that orientation and things, but I'm just saying, if people just respected people, period, 65% of this stuff wouldn't exist. 65% of this would not exist. It would not be a problem at all. So I think people need to focus on that. And let this be a reason, you know what I'm saying, for people to get back to that. You know, some people are saying and doing highly disrespectful things. And it's just not cool. It's not cool. It's not okay. It's not okay.
And a lot of the people too, I remember when a lot of these gangster rappers started to get a little bit of slack. I'm like, what is the image of this person anyway? That they're an outlaw and a bad person anyway. So, you know, what are you going to do? And then there was like
that
Snoop
industry
Dogg.
is way out of control though too. Hip-hop industry is way out of control with it too.
And then some people it doesn't affect, like Snoop Dogg did a porno. He did an X-rated.
No, but those people, they get brought up on charges
movie.
for stuff. A lot of those people do time and all types of stuff. It affects them.
Yeah, when they get arrested. But Snoop
No, but a lot
Dogg, you
of
see
those
him on
guys
The
in
View,
the hip-hop
you know?
industry have been accused of rape and all types of stuff, and they got to
that's
go
true.
to court and all types of stuff. So no, it affects them. However, the overall message that comes across in some, or I would say the majority of hip hop that's going on now is negative, and it encourages negative behaviors and activities. You know what I mean? And just a complete disrespect, like I said, disrespect of whole populations of people, disrespect of women, disrespect of so many different things on so many different levels. And to me, everything has gone, this culture has turned into anything goes as long as it procures money. You know, everything is about making money. If this song is gonna be popular, if this is gonna pop, if this is gonna chart, if this is gonna, who cares if it's this or that? Who cares what the message is? Who cares what the images we're putting on the video? Who cares? The more outrageous you get with it, kick it up a notch. It's like everything's going to hell in a handbasket. No values, no morals, no nothing. Get rid of all of it. It's really sad. It's turning into the Roman Empire.
Well, once you start trying to be shocking, someone has to be shocking, and then the next person has to be more shocking, the next person has to be even more shocking, the next person has to be even more shocking. So it's like, and the same thing happens in everywhere. In rap music, it can happen in rock music, it can happen in pornography, it can happen in maybe in politics too. Who knows? To a certain extent,
all over.
Trump is like a shock jock. To a certain extent, he's like a shock radio politician. He comes out swinging. But it just happens. We get more and more used to stuff. Like on TV now they said the F word. They showed intercourse. They had taboo stuff.
Everything is going on now. Everything.
It's like horror movies. I love horror movies in the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s, and the 70s. And then to a certain extent, it just became like torture porn. It's just like, okay, that's not scary anymore. That's just disgusting. That's not horror. It used to be, there used to be this wonderful TV show called Dark Shadows, and it was about a vampire. And it never really showed all that much. It was all atmosphere and these old mansions and these old houses and maybe a graveyard and some fog, in the forest and, the vampire. And just it was eerie. It was eerie and creepy. And it was wonderful. A lot of old movies are like that too, old horror movies. But now, it just gets a gore. Then the gore film came in, and then when it first came in, it was interesting, and then it just got to be like it's just torture porn, like the Hostile movie. It's like, what is that? This is I've been a horror fan my whole life, and I watch that, I'm just turned off. That's just torture porn. I'm just not interested. There's less movie making in there now, It's just like there's not really any atmosphere or character development or anything, It's just gore and torture, And this is supposed to be what a horror movie is. And to me, they lose me on that. I love the old horror movies. Of the 60s and the 70s. In the 80s, I think they started to lose it into the 80s. Then the 90s, I don't even see horror movies anymore. I don't watch them. I look for maybe there's an old horror movie I have not seen from the 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s or 70s.
Of some horror movie, I think it was either from the 80s or 70s, but it was like going around on Facebook for a while, and it was some doll. It was like a Hawaiian.
Yeah, no, that's the Trilogy of Terror. It's a little doll that comes to life, and that was a great one. That was a great one. That was a Dan.
So hard. I kept watching that video over and over.
It's a Dan Curtis production. It's called Trilogy of Terror, I believe, and it was the same guy that produced Dark Shadows that Cheryl was talking about. And that was something he did on television.
Oh my God.
And that little doll, that was amazing. It was incredibly scary.
It was
incredibly scary.
It had me on the floor. And it was scary and funny.
It was scary and funny,
I'm like, what is this?
The terrifying little doll, like coming to life and like attacking somebody.
Kept on, like no matter what she did, it was chasing. And then the actress, she was so dramatic. She had on the nightgown. She was falling.
Right.
No, the thing is, somehow this dog gets a knife and
a little knife and tried to cut her.
And I'm like, this is wild.
That was a great thing, and when it came out, it was really shocking. But it was done. It was innovative. It was done with acting. It was done with like there's a movie called The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they never show really anything in the whole movie, but the way they do it is just terrifying. And it came out in the early 70s. There's tons of sequels and there's tons of movies of people getting chopped in half with a chainsaw, but they didn't really show any of that in the movie.
Okay,
They just,
that's
it
better.
was just terrifying. It's a terrifying movie, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That was a movie that played in theaters for 10 years. Also, Night of the Living Dead, just a masterful
Well, you know what?
movie.
What I remember when I was growing up, back when there was the VHS tapes,
Right.
we would rent. It was called Tales from the
Crypt, yeah.
and it was some old like horror series or something like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
they had it on
They
VHS.
made it new.
And it would be that it would be so scary but funny at the same
Right.
time. I remember we would watch it over and over and over again. They had the one where it was some like teenagers on like a raft. Remember that one? It was like some teenagers on a raft. And it was like a series of vignettes, you know. And then there was like another one where it was like, I think it was roaches that took over the.
Oh yeah, those roaches. The guy, there was millions of roaches in the guy's house. He was trying to eat, and he'd open up his cereal, and did just a bunch of
It was
roaches
just
in there.
roaches everywhere. And then there was another one where it was some guy that kept getting hit with a car but wouldn't die.
Right, yeah, remember that one. Definitely, that was, and he kept coming back, and he kept asking for something, where's my job,
He
or
kept
what.
saying, thanks for the ride,
Thanks for the
lady."
ride, lady, yeah. Over and over again, I remember that. And it was funny, was that, yeah, that was great, because, and that was the era that I was into horror films. It was like the VHS era, when they were taking all the old horror movies from the 70s and 60s and putting them on VHS, anything they could find, and they would put it on a VHS tape. And most of those things were just, all they would do is they'd find a film collector that had a copy of these old drive-in horror movies. And they just point a video camera at the screen and have it close enough so to pick up the audio, and that's what you were looking at. And sometimes you'd see the wind like blow the screen a little bit. You'd see it move a little bit, but you know, that's how they would do those things, is just point a video camera at it while they played it. And then they would just stick everything they could on VHS. And I used to love that stuff. Now I can't stand it.
All right, guys, here we go.
But especially new horror movies. But occasionally on YouTube or somewhere, there'll be some old movie, or I'll order a DVD of some old horror movie that I discover that I have not seen, that's like sci-fi or something like that, where there's still heavy copyrights on it. You can only get it on VHS. But there used to be these companies that would just take every horror movie where they fell out of copyright. That's what happened to the Night of the Living Dead. They used to show that movie every night on television, edited, where they take out a lot of the gore, but there was no copyright on it anymore. Before the infomercials, they used to show old horror movies that weren't copyrighted anymore all night long, and all these movies, then the infomercial came in and it stopped it. So now people are putting them up on YouTube. You can watch a lot of them. A lot of the old horror movies and silent films are being stuck on YouTube, so you can just go and find them and watch them. Yes, Dracula. You can see all that stuff. There's even a Spanish language version of Dracula. What they did was during the day they filmed the English version with Bela Lugosi, and then at night they used the same sets and they used the Spanish actors, another different one playing Dracula, and they filmed the Spanish version of Dracula. And people didn't even know that existed for the longest time. They'd forgotten it existed, and they dug it up and re-released it. So, you have to go? All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. Thanks for coming out today, and this has been Hot Potatoes with StephanieA.IsComedy. And where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram, StephanieA.IsComedy, Twitter, StephanieA.IsComedy.
All right, so that's where you can find her, and you guys all know where you can find me, so I will see you next time.